Hello and good morning. Hello, beloved. I'm so very grateful that you are joining today, this conversation. I'm really excited about it. And I want you to know that it just wouldn't be the same without you. So thank you so much. I feel your presence. I know who you are. I know what you are. I know how you serve. And together, we join in a moment of consciousness, of connecting in the infinite presence of the all that is. So I'm going to just invite you to close the body eyes for a moment, turning within, taking a breath, and bringing the attention and awareness to being present fully here and now. And dropping into the heart space and opening the crown chakra and the heart. Breathing in and connecting. And as we do so, we meet in the heart and mind of the beloved of our being. The Mother, Father presence. God, love. Infinite intelligence, benevolent presence. How grateful I am for this opportunity to pause in this moment, to remember truth, to remember that I am spirit, holy and divine, and meeting in this unified field of consciousness, I meet with my brothers and sisters, and here we meet in the same place in love as love. And so how grateful I am for this opportunity to have a conversation of truth, to have this opportunity of connection, and to remember together that God and I are one, that I am what thou art what I am. And in this divine recognition and divine identity, we rest together. We know we are blessed, and we claim that something wonderful happens as this connection with one another. I am you, you are me, we are one, all is well. And so it is, and so I let it be. Amen and amen. And so taking another breath and opening the body eyes if they were closed, and here we are. Welcome to True Thought Spiritual Community. Welcome to our conversation this day. And what it is we are continuing our conversation this month, in fact, concluding it today with a conversation again about forgiveness. And we are going to discuss our unforgiveness stories and our forgiveness stories, focusing upon the latter. And remembering, if you've missed any messages this month, go back and listen again. They are filled with inspirational truths about this idea of forgiveness. And we have defined forgiveness as the process of going back before we have given a judgment, whether it's a judgment of another individual, whether it's a judgment of a culture or a system, whether it is a judgment of the world, whether it is a judgment of ourselves. You see, because all of the ones that I have listed eventually land right here. And that forgiveness is about going back before we give judgment and remembering innocence, remembering our purity, remembering our wholeness, and remembering also that that is the only truth that there is. I have come to believe that forgiveness is my key to happiness. I have come to believe that the practice of forgiveness is that bridge that leads us from the land of illusion, and it bridges over the troubled waters of the world, and it brings us home to heaven. It's that journey without a distance to the destination that never changed. It's a journey home to divine self and divine identity. It's a return to love, but more importantly, it's a return to self-love. This is what forgiveness is. And I want to share a story. I want to share with you first my unforgiveness story and then my forgiveness story. We all have stories, do we not? We all have stories. We have stories about our life, stories about how we came into this experience, into this existence. We have stories about our family and our upbringing. We have stories about why we are the way we are. And we have stories of unforgiveness and stories of judgment. And for some of us, there are epic episodes that happen in our life that we struggle with. And for others, perhaps in this moment, it feels clean and clear, but something might happen and it kind of touches an old wound of unforgiveness, an old wound where we're still holding judgment. And so today, I want to share a snippet of an unforgiveness story, and I share it for the purpose of healing. I share it for the purpose of our conversation, and I share it for the purpose that it may somehow help. If you know where I've been, then I can share how I got through to the other side, how I have, through forgiveness, bridged from the land of illusion to the kingdom of heaven. And so that is the purpose of this sharing. I also want to say I'm not sharing it to make anybody wrong. I'm not sharing it to make somebody else wrong or to make myself wrong. And that I'm not sharing it for you to feel sorry for me. I'm not enrolling you in anything here. It's merely a teaching tool. And I want to also say that it's 100% my perspective. And as we know, as we teach, perspective and perception is limited. So I acknowledge that right at the get-go. And that because of that, somebody else might tell the very same story about the very same events and it would be very different. But this is my perception and what I experienced. So in a nutshell, what happened? In a nutshell, what happened is I believe I was canceled. I experienced being canceled. And even to the point where things that were simply not true began to operate as truth and were perceived as fact. And we see that in our world. We see where those things that are false or mistrue or half-truths can be spun into something, and if enough people believe it, then they believe it to be true. We all do this. Those who were bystanders watching this were like, oh my gosh, it feels like you've been crucified. I feel like I've just witnessed a stoning or a lynching even. And so it went on for about a year, and that's the story. That's it. It's not dissimilar to other stories in the world or stories that are happening currently that we see in our political culture in this world. And so, like any story, what I want to stop here and I want to say, the story itself doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is the meaning that I give it. The meaning that you give your story, the meaning I give my story, that's all that really matters here in this conversation. And so I just want to share with you how I felt, because if you understand the depth of how this impacted me, how I believed it impacted me, you may remember something in your life where you felt this way, and how something that felt unforgivable to you, you might be able then to find a way to forgiveness. And that's the whole point of this conversation. So how did I feel? I felt betrayed. I felt misunderstood. I felt attacked. I was deeply hurt. It touched off old wounds from my past that hadn't been healed. At times, I felt absolutely devastated. At times, my self-worth was just completely in the gutter. And I was so deeply questioning who I was. I felt as if I'd been shot down. I felt as if my wings had been clipped. I felt as if I didn't know who I was anymore. As it turns out, this was all a gift and a good thing, but we'll get there in a second. I felt like I could no longer fly, and it was painful and disorienting. And so just take a breath with me and think in your life when you may have had an event or an experience in your life where you may have felt this way. And I just want you to remember that, because this isn't about me. It's about our collective experience and the areas in our life where we've been hurt, and perhaps where we're withholding forgiveness of others or of ourselves. Okay? So, all of this reminds me of one of my minister mentors. Her name, Gloria Moorhead. Reverend Gloria Moorhead was just a beautiful minister who touched both Brother T and my hearts. And we had the opportunity to be in her community for a period of time. And in her community, she told this story, and I want to tell it to you right now. And I'm going to entitle the story Bird Down. And you may have heard this before, but she told the story about when geese fly in formation, how they create their own unique form of teamwork. As each bird flaps its wings, it creates uplift for the bird immediately following. By flying in their V formation, the whole flock adds at least 71% more flying range than if each bird flew on its own. Geese honk from behind to encourage those up front to keep up their speed. When a goose falls out of formation, it suddenly feels the drag and resistance of trying to go it alone, and quickly gets back into formation to take advantage of the lifting power of the bird in front. When the lead goose gets tired, it rotates to the back of the V and another goose flies point. But when a goose gets sick or is wounded and falls out of formation, 2 other geese will fall out with them and companion them and follow it down and lend help and protection. They stay with the fallen goose until it is able to fly, or until it dies, and only then do they launch out on their own or with another formation to catch up with the group. Reverend Gloria used to use that story to say, bird down. When there was a bird down in the community, when there was a bird down who needed help, when there was a member of the community that broke its wing or had some sort of condition, or there was a loss of some sort, it was her rally cry to help those who were down and hurt. In this story, I was a bird down. I was a bird down. And how grateful I am that there were those who companioned me while I was down. They were willing to be with me, to listen to my story, to hear my pain and my hurt. And I am so grateful for that. And they were individuals who could remind me that I was only telling my unforgiveness story so that I could heal. They were individuals who understood spiritual truth enough to know that there was nothing out there that could hurt me or stop me from being who I came here to be. And so I bless those individuals. I'm so grateful for those individuals. And I also want to say that those who seem to attack, those who seem to be the perpetrator, they too are in a bird down situation and need love as well. Because we are in this together, and we are better together when we fly in formation. And if there is someone or something out of that formation, it impacts us all. And so I wanted to share that story with you to say that if you are experiencing something, you do not need to experience it alone. You do not need to experience it alone. And at some point, when you're done sharing your unforgiveness story, when you're done sharing about the pain and the belief that you might be a victim, and those with you are reminding you that you cannot be, that because of who you are, you cannot be, then we can shift to the forgiveness story, to the most amazing aspect. We can shift to that bridge from illusion and a language that is chaotic and doesn't make any sense. And we can begin to learn the language of love. And that bridge and that translator is forgiveness. And so now I want to read to you something about forgiveness. Forgiveness offers everything I want. What could you want? Forgiveness cannot give. Do you want peace? Forgiveness offers it. Do you want happiness, a quiet mind, a certainty of purpose, and a sense of worth and beauty that transcends the world? Do you want care and safety and warmth of sure protection always? Do you want a quietness that cannot be disturbed, a gentleness that can never be hurt, a deep abiding comfort and a rest so perfect it can never be upset? All this forgiveness offers you and more. It sparkles in your eyes as you awake and gives you joy with which to meet the day. It soothes your forehead while you sleep and rests upon your eyelids so you can see no dreams of fear and evil, malice and attack. And when you awake again, it offers you another day of happiness and peace. All this forgiveness offers you and more. All this forgiveness offers you, me, and more. Do we not want that? I share this reading from A Course in Miracles so that we can begin to understand the powerful impact of forgiveness. It offers all of this and more. It is the key to our happiness, our safety, our protection, our surety, all of that and more. Now, we know what the language of illusion gives us. We do. It's something that we've been operating in the conditioned world. Illusion then offers everything I do not want. Let us remember this. We don't want conflict. We don't really truly want unhappiness and noise and chaos and uncertainty. We don't really want anxiety and depression. We really don't want addiction. We really don't want ugliness or a lack of safety or upset or sadness. These are things that the world of unforgiveness perpetuates, and we don't want that anymore. We have to shift our focus, our attention, and our desire to what we do want, and we do want forgiveness. The story I shared, just like your unforgiveness story, just like anything from the past that has hurt us. And when we hold on to it and we remember it from the shadows of the past, we're dealing with illusion. And we're debating and kvetching and agonizing over illusion. It's not real. It doesn't exist anymore, but in the mind that keeps it alive. And the mind that keeps it alive only hurts itself. It only hurts itself. And so there's a whole ununified, disunified thought system that this perpetuates. And yet there is this new unified thought system, and the bridge to it and the interpreter of it is forgiveness. Are you ready to learn this new language? Are you ready to commit and to desire this forgiveness. I had a friend recently, and we were talking, and I was sharing some of my experience, my pathway of forgiveness. And she had a situation in her life, and she's like, but how? How do you do it? How do you forgive? How exactly do you do it? And I want to share with you what I call forgiveness made simple. Forgiveness made simple. Listen to this short quote with me, please. Take a breath. To forgive is merely to remember only the loving thought you gave in the past and those that were given you. All the rest must be forgotten. Forgiveness is a selective remembering based not on your selection. That's forgiveness made simple. Oh my gosh, could it really be that it's about forgiving and forgetting after all? And you might say, I can forgive, but boy, I sure can't forget. But it is that aspect of it that restores us to our sanity and allows us to move forward freely, unencumbered from the past. It really is about selective memory and remembering only love. And you see, this makes sense in a unified thought system, because in a unified thought system, we say that only love is real. Only love is real. And anything that is unlike love, anything that appears to be unlike love is fear, and it is an illusion. It is not real. It is not lasting. And it is not the thought system that is eternal. That is the thought system of heaven and love. And so love is the only reality, the only truth. And what is all-encompassing can have no opposite, truly. But in this experience of separation, we do have a language of fear. But the language of love is all-encompassing. And so we are only then forgetting what is not real. We're forgetting the illusion. We're forgetting the insanity in which we forgot who we were, when I forgot who I was and I forgot who others were and they forgot who I was. That's insanity, and it is not real. We forget our misperceptions, our own misperceptions about ourselves and others, and the actions of those who believe that they're separate. We cease arguing about this illusion versus that illusion. When you're in the field of insanity, it's all kind of crazy. We have to rise above it. And so we are to forget the insanity, to stop focusing on it, to stop feeding it. We know that the thought system that you feed, that you pay attention to, increases. And so it does make sense to forget about that thought system and to remember only love. To return to love is to return to self-love and is to return to sanity. And just like the bird who was down, and there were two that would come down with it and companion it, you do not need to do this alone. We do not do it alone. We have mighty companions with us who companion us and help us to remember, help us to mend until we're ready to forgive and forget. And so there's a gentleness in it, even in the unforgiveness story. But at some point, we're not meant to camp out there. We share it to heal it, and with the companions that we have, we begin to move on. We do not do this alone. In addition to those companions, we turn to Spirit. And in this, we ask for help. We ask for help from the divine. Asking for help is an act of humility. It is the humiliation, actually, of the ego thought system, of thinking that it's right, and that we, when mired in it, we can do nothing of our own self. And so we ask for help. We become humble. And we ask Spirit, holy and divine, which has never left us, which is us, to guide us, to help us to rise above the perception, to rise above the illusion. And we become willing. We are willing to be all into this thought system. We become willing to forgive and forget. We become willing to let go of our misguided ideas of repeating the shadow and trying to make wrong, to make ourselves feel better and justified in our unforgiveness. No, we become willing and humble. We ask for help. And there are 2 steps. And the first step is that we just set a goal. We set a goal. The goal belongs at the beginning. In this thought system, conditions lead, but in this thought system, Spirit leads, and the goal is for truth. We ask for truth. We ask for sanity. We ask to be shown the truth. That's the goal. We put it in the beginning. That goal then becomes our intention. We align our whole life to it. And then we watch what happens as Spirit illuminates the way, helps us to forgive. We ask the truth to be our goal and dedicate our whole lives to it. And then what happens is that there's a faithfulness that kicks in, and it's a faith of love. It's a faith of truth. Illusion is faithlessness. We place our faith in truth, in insanity, and in the Holy Spirit. And in that, we practice our principles of truth. We remember that thoughts are things. We remember and consider and contemplate how all events are really neutral, and that it's a reflective universe, and that it's ever only reflecting my own consciousness, and that there is only love. And so those who seem to persecute us and hurt us, that in some way there is some gift that is being revealed, some contract, that there is a mystery in this, which is why we ask for the help of Spirit. Because of my own self, I can't figure any of that out because I'm not meant to. We continue with the principles of truth, that the justice we desire is God's justice, not making somebody wrong and punishing, but the justice of God, which is love, and which all win, all gain, and there is no loss. This is what we do. We practice these 2 steps, which are the holy instant, turning within to Spirit. Truth is my goal. Sanity is my goal. And watch the faith that I give to the principles of truth that are true always, no matter the situation. And I allow that to guide me. We practice 70 times 7 because sometimes we forget. Sometimes we go back into the illusion and comparing and contrasting in our unforgiveness story. But we're gentle with ourselves. It's a journey. And in this experience, time is our friend. It is time that helps us heal, to mend that wing. It is time when those come around us to companion us that helps us to heal and return to the truth of wholeness that never really left us. And so we use time wisely in order to bridge from this land to home. So what is it like now for me? Most days I'm happy. Most days, actually, I feel more free and more happy than I've ever felt in my whole life. Most days, I feel as if I'm returning to myself and that I can begin to fly. Most days are like that. Most days I can see the gifts. Most days As I begin to practice, I see only the love of this entire situation, and it sparkles and it's beautiful, and we're all free to fly. And there are other times and other moments when I don't feel that way and I get triggered again, but I keep practicing. I keep practicing. I practice seeing only love. I practice forgiving myself, seeing love only in myself and others. And I keep going, and I keep trying to fly. And soon it feels as if I'm back in that formation of love with my mighty companions, not alone. And I soar. And when I soar, you soar, and that we can do that together. I am so very grateful for this opportunity to share this with you. It was heartfelt and meant only for love and only to serve. I pray and hope that it has, that you receive it in this way. Only God, only love. Thank you, beloved. God bless.